Welcome to the Christy Jones Show. This is your go-to podcast for living life to the fullest. I am a life and empowerment coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate. I am a woman passionate about helping others build a life that they truly desire. We'll talk about how to make the most out of every day, from setting meaningful goals to embracing the present moment. So join us as we explore the depths of living a life that is full of joy, purpose, and satisfaction. Well, hello and welcome back, my friends, for another week of the Christy Jones Show. This is episode 7, and I'm making a little shift, a little pivot today on what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about a topic on women's health and wellness and that midlife shift that our bodies and our brains, that we go through. And so before I lose you men that do listen to the show, don't tune out quite yet, because first of all, you have a sister, maybe a mother, a wife, a girlfriend. It is good to be educated about this season of a woman's life so you can have some insight and be a support to them. And, maybe, see things, help notice some things that maybe they're not noticing. So you can just guide them on their way of finding solutions to feel better and to live more vibrant and have that energy that they want to have. So don't tune out yet. And also, men, while I am going to focus on the women aspect of it because I'm a woman and I'm going to just share from my personal experience, do realize that men as well go through hormonal changes in that midlife time frame. And it's really important, just as important for us women and men to pay attention to the changes and that you might be noticing within your body and your brain, and that you might want to be talking to your doctor and taking a look at some lifestyle changes. And I'm going to dive into hormone replacement therapy a little bit and talk about my experience with that today. So equally as important for men to be knowledgeable of their hormone health as it is for women. So I just wanted to open with that before I completely lost any men that were listening. So on that note, I am I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. What I am is I'm a woman at 52 years of age that is in perimenopause. And I wasn't quite sure really what to expect as I, went through my 40s. But having learned some things through that and chose to educate myself on what in the world was really going on and what were some good solutions to help me feel my best and really thrive in this season of life. So I share from my own experience and my own perspective. And I talk about this on my social media channels quite a bit. And do know that I always say this, it's not a one size fits all approach. And that's the beauty of it. We have so much information available to us today that there are many different options. And it's really a matter of you learning those options for yourself and then making some educated choices of what do is there something that you want to consider or adjust or to relieve some symptoms or just to really, have everything in your mind and body just feeling great and operating on all cylinders, as I like to put it. So it's a completely personal choice, but I just like to advocate that there are multiple options for you. And I hate to see, and again, it is starting to be talked more and more about perimenopause and menopause, but it's still kind of under, under the baseline a little bit is what I like to say. So there are tons of solutions and lots of things to look into. So know that. And I hope that gives you hope if you are feeling like you're in that season of life, or maybe you're coming upon it and then you hear people talk about it and it kind of freaks you out a little bit, like what in the world happens when you're in your 40s? There's nothing to panic about. I promise you. And I think a lot of times we always hear all the bad, negative news about that season of life and going through perimenopause or menopause. And I believe that there are equally as many great positive things about that season. So I guess it's however you choose to look at it, but that's how I look at it. And it's honestly a really exciting and it's just an exciting time of life. And it's like a whole new world almost opens up to you in that midlife season. So I hope that's encouraging to you if you're not quite sure what to think about perimenopause and menopause. So know that. So let me just dive into real quick. And again, I'm coming to you and I'm speaking in my own language, my own verbiage. I'm not going to throw out a ton of medical jargon at you because, I'm going to talk to you like you're my friend, and I'm just going to fill you in on what I've learned and what I've experienced, and hopefully kind of send you on your way to look at some options for yourself. So, and kind of take away like the mystery of the whole thing, because I still don't know why this is sometimes like a hush hush thing. I don't know. I really don't know why that is. But I feel like when we talk about it, we learn from each other. So let's learn from each other. And I appreciate the other women that I've learned from that have shared their experiences, and I've learned from them. So that's my hope and desire with this conversation. So let me start with perimenopause. So we hear the term perimenopause and we hear the term menopause. Perimenopause, the way I like to describe that is the season that your body is going through when hormone changes start to happen. Your body is going, your hormone levels are beginning to adjust. And you're still having, your cycles, all of that's still taking place, but there's some probably subtle at first, changes that you start noticing with how you feel, and or even physical things that start showing up, and they can be very subtle at first. And so perimenopause is just that time where your body is making those hormonal shifts, and it's leading up to menopause. Menopause is actually after you've gone a full 12 months without a menstrual cycle. So you have to go a full 12 months without that, and then you're considered to be in menopause. So backing up to perimenopause, that one of the big like light bulb moments for me was when I learned that perimenopause can start like in your mid 30s, and then it can last anywhere from it can be a 7 to 10 year time frame. I had no idea when I learned that it could go on for that long. And when I look back at now my mid 30s, I do start to see where some of the very subtle symptoms started to show themselves. And I never in a million years thought that I was, in perimenopause at that point. So there's that. So know that in your mid 30s, that it's a potential that these shifts and hormonal changes can begin to happen, and you can start into that perimenopausal timeframe. So the symptoms, that's where it gets a little interesting, I'll say, because when I had always heard of perimenopause or menopause, I always was waiting for the hot flash. Like, all I knew is that someday you'll probably have a hot flash. It's going to be pretty intense. And I always was told you'll know when you know, because it's like apparently like a furnace, just an internal furnace takes over your whole body. So I always just kind of affiliated it with that. Well, I guess when I feel that, then that means that I'm, in that season of perimenopause or menopause. I wasn't at that point, I didn't really know the difference between the two terms. So I was just waiting for a hot flash and never had one. Still to this day, before I started my hormone replacement therapy, up until that point, even I had never experienced a hot flash. So I was waiting for the hot flash to show up to basically tell me that I was now having hormone fluctuations. But what I learned is that while I had a list of other problematic symptoms that I was trying to work through, did not realize that those were affiliated to perimenopause. And so I guess my takeaway here is that not everyone has hot flashes. I never experienced those. But a lot of women do. But if you fall in the category where you don't, that doesn't mean that you're not still going through hormonal adjustments. So don't just bank on the one or two major symptoms that everybody talks about. Those may not happen for you. So that doesn't mean that your body still isn't going through perimenopause. So I'm going to refer to my notes over here. These are kind of some common symptoms when it comes to perimenopause. So hot flashes, I mentioned that, night sweats, your metabolism slowing down, or you start noticing you still haven't changed, like you are working out and you're eating a good healthy diet, but you're all of a sudden starting to notice weight gain, probably in your midsection, that whole little muffin top thing that we talk about. And you're like, gosh, why all of a sudden am I having such a hard time, or my body is storing fat in a different way or in a different place? Emotions like depression, anxiety, massive mood swings, having a hard time sleeping at night. That's a real common one. And you might even notice differences with your hair just being more brittle, breaking more easily, your nails, your fingernails just being more brittle and cracking, or just not healthy, not looking healthy. Things like we hear about low libido, and a lot of times they label that sexual dysfunction. But basically, your desire for sex has diminished, or you're just not feeling it. Like, it's normal. I mean, you're going to go through times where you're just like not feeling it, right? But I mean, when what was kind of your normal as far as your interest in sex or what your libido was, and then it just, you notice a big change consistently, not like, once in a while or the 1 week you're just feeling off or whatever. I'm talking like consistently, you notice your sexual desire has definitely changed. Maybe dry skin, flaky skin, and then things like cognitive or changes within your brain, like memory issues, problems concentrating, cognitive, just not feeling clear. I call it like a foggy brain. I call it foggy brain syndrome. And just that clouded, diminished feeling in your head. Or maybe a better way to describe it is, you could go through your day before and you felt like, you were accomplishing what you needed to accomplish, and you're just kind of operating at your usual, but then you start noticing that even simple things are they're like jarring up your brain, and you're like, this should not be soaking up this much brain power for me right now. Why is this so much harder than it used to be? Why am I having a hard time organizing my day? You know what I'm saying? Like, you really notice those type of changes. And that is tied to hormonal shifts. So I encourage you to Google it, because literally the list is like this. I mean, there are all kinds of symptoms. I'm just kind of touching on the most common. But go Google that and look through it and see if or at least be aware. So if you're not quite there yet, then you kind of know what to pay attention to. And if you are there and you're in that season, you might have like some aha moments where you're like, oh, that's totally me. I am totally there right now. So it brings some, it kind of like goes, oh, okay, so that's what's going on. So I highly encourage you to, if you are experiencing those symptoms, to keep a journal and keep a log and just start keeping track of things that you notice. It can be a daily log, or every few days go and jot some things down as far as what you're noticing about yourself. So when you go meet with your doctor, you've got, some like these, almost every day I'm feeling this. Almost every night I'm having night sweats. And you start to see some consistency, I guess is what I'm saying. So I highly encourage you to keep like a wellness log, a health log, and just start keeping track of your symptoms and how often you are experiencing that. And it's really helpful when you sit down with your doctor. So the next thing is sit down with your doctor, make an appointment, talk to your doctor, and discuss these things with your doctor. If you don't feel heard and you don't feel like they're taking your, taking what you have to say seriously, then go get another doctor. That's how you handle that. And I speak from experience on that, because not all doctors, there's tons of great doctors out there, tons of excellent medical professionals. But there's also, when it comes to this topic, sometimes, and I found this, I remember in my 30s and early 40s, talking to my doctor, who was an OBGYN, and and my symptoms weren't super severe or anything like that, but she just would prescribe an antidepressant. And I said, but I'm not depressed. I'm not opposed to antidepressants, but that wasn't my issue. And she says, yeah, but a lot of times we prescribe antidepressants for, you might be in perimenopause or entering into that. And I didn't like that was just so easily tossed at me. And I just wanted some other solutions. I wanted to talk about, like, I felt like there was some other ways to go about this. And so I didn't really make a lot of headway in that department with my doctor. So over time, over a lot of years, and really not until my symptoms got what I would consider where they really are disrupting my quality of life. When you just have like one or two symptoms, you can find ways to, manage it or navigate around it. But when the list becomes really long, or it's really disrupting the quality of your life, you're like a little more motivated to find a solution. At least I was. So I would say that I definitely, in my 40s, I started really focusing in on lifestyle habits. So while I had always been into fitness and working out, but I knew that I had to make sure that I was not only working out, but also doing things that balanced and calmed my nervous system. So things such as that would bring in mindfulness, like meditation and yoga, things of that nature. So take a look at your lifestyle. And, aside from some of the other options that are available to us that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, definitely the things that are within our control that we can do is look at your lifestyle. Exercise and movement is absolutely everything. We feel so much better when we stay consistent in moving our bodies and making our bodies stronger, and to make them more flexible, and to work on our balance. All of those things contribute to going through perimenopause feeling your best. So really analyze and take a look at that as far as what kind of practices do you have in place to move your body, to get to exercise and to work out. And then what kind of practices do you have in place for mindfulness, meditation, yoga, think about things that you can do to calm your nervous system, to calm the body down. And nutrition, taking a look at what you're putting into your body and how you're fueling your body. And are you fueling your body enough? You've got to make sure that you're eating enough. And protein intake, as we are in our midlife season, is extremely important. And making sure you're getting enough protein. It was surprising to me when I learned how much protein I needed to actually be consuming on a daily basis to get my body feeling at that optimal level. So that was a real eye-opener for me. I did work with a nutritionist in my 40s and did a lot of lab work, understood my different vitamin level, all these different things. It was a full panel. And to better understand where I was, where I needed to get, and what foods to make sure I was incorporating into my diet. And, I don't come from a diet mentality. I just don't. To me, food is a fuel and a source. And it's like what I put in my body is helping me be my best, perform my best, physically and mentally. So I look at food. Yeah. And I enjoy food. I mean, I love Mexican food. I love Italian food. I mean, some of those things aren't necessarily, the optimal nutrition. That actually, I do think tacos would be a required food group. I kind of do. I kind of do. But you see what I'm saying. I mean, you have to make sure you can still have all the things. I don't have any foods that I have that are like absolutely on the do not eat list. So I just don't believe in that. I think moderation is key. But to go through midlife in this perimenopause season, you do have to really pay attention to nutrition and the type of foods that you're putting in your body. So take some time to really look at that. And if you need to work with a nutritionist, work with a nutritionist. If you feel like you have a good enough grip on it, go with that. But I chose to do some extensive blood work and to really look at where I was maybe a little, I needed to kind of improve certain areas. And vitamin D, you guys, was like increasing my protein, vitamin D levels. That was a total game changer. Vitamin D, major game changer. Magnesium is also was very helpful, although I don't take magnesium every day. I think you have to be, you need to be a little knowledgeable about how much of magnesium you really need, so you don't do too much, because that's not a good thing either for your body. But vitamin D, the D3 is just, man, once I understood the proper amount for me, my body, how my body operates to feel its best, then that was a big, big game changer for me in that perimenopause season. So nutrition, exercise, and mindfulness, things to calm your nervous system. Those are all things that you need to, that you can do, that you don't need a doctor or anyone to, like, you can get a grip on those things. And then sleep. And this becomes a real hard topic, because it's like, well, our sleep gets disrupted when our hormone levels start to change. If you are starting to wake up consistently at like between 2 and 3 a.m. every night for no reason, and then you have a very hard time going back to sleep. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. That is such a common one. So the disruption in sleep, that is a big indicator and sign of perimenopause. So another thing that we can do is, what can we do to get our sleep schedule more regimented? But then there's like, yeah, but I keep waking up at 3 a.m. every night. And when I got to, and I will say, when I got to that point, that is when I did, there were several things lining up, that being one of them as well. And I knew it was time for me to look into a type of hormone replacement therapy and explore those options of what would be a good fit for me. So in order to manage perimenopause in an optimal way, we have to have good sleep patterns, and we have to have solid sleep, because that is our rest and recovery time. And so I would say going to bed at a very, consistent time every night, and getting up in the morning at a very consistent time, and making sure you're getting a, solid, I like to say 7-8 hours. Everyone has the little sweet spot, and you probably know what yours is. And mine is about the 7 to 8 hour time frame. And that's exactly what I need. And I have very consistent time that I go to bed, and I do get up, the crack very early. I'm an early riser, but I go to bed early. So, but looking at your sleep schedule. All right. So now let me dive into solutions. And okay, so yeah, Christy, I'm having all these symptoms, and I feel like crap, and I have no energy, and I'm putting on all this weight. And, I am having the insomnia. I'm waking up. I don't know why I always hear it's around that 2 to 3 a.m. time frame. I have no idea why that is, but I hear that all the time from women. And, or maybe you are having hot flashes. Maybe you're having all the cognitive, foggy brain feelings, the night sweats. So if that's you, then you really need to explore some options for yourself. So when I finally, and it was trying to think when I actually started, it was July of 2021 was when I opted for the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And there are a lot of different, like I said before, a lot of different options available to women. And I encourage you to look into all of them, or talk to your doctor about all of them. And again, if your doctor doesn't want to discuss this, then you keep looking for a doctor that will talk about perimenopause and menopause solutions, because I'm telling you, they are out there. There's tons of resources available to us. And some doctors specialize in that. So that, if that's, if you're in an area that you have a lot of access to, a lot of medical doctors in a large city, quite possible that you could find a menopause specialist. So it wasn't until I started having the laundry list of symptoms that I decided to look for a solution beyond my lifestyle, beyond exercise, beyond nutrition, beyond, the mindfulness and the things that I was doing to calm my nervous system. So I was having, the night sweats. I was having, of course, the waking up every single night at that same time. I was noticing a lot of changes in my mood, and the weirdest things I'm not ever exhibited a lot of anger, and the oddest things would just send me, I'd go from like 0 to like 100 inside, something that just, oh my goodness. And I was like, this is such an awkward, like, what is happening? Why is this making me so elevated in my irritation and my anger? Like, what the freak is going on, right? And so that was a big indicator. I remember what one of the things, and my husband and I were just talking about this the other day, is that we were coming in from the garage. We got out of the car. It was a very normal activity. You pull the car in the garage. We got out of the car. We go to the door that goes into the house. I opened the door to go into the house, and he was behind me, and he pressed the garage door, the button to close the garage. And when he did that, the noise that the garage door behind us was making, how it just seemed extremely loud to me. That simple little thing, I didn't say a word, but I walked in the house and I was so irritated over now this is stupid, right? Stupid that the way he had hit the button and how loud the garage door was when it closed. And I thought I was going to lose it. I mean, what in the world? It was, I told him about that and I'm like, what is happening to me? Like, why did that make me so irritated? So it's silly. I mean, things that just don't, like, that doesn't add up, right? That's not a huge offense, right? You close the garage door. So it was that. And then within my work, I started noticing my ability in a cognitive way, just to not be able to organize my day and get as much accomplished in my day as I used to. And it felt more like just being foggy headed, like foggy brain, I didn't feel clear. I didn't feel crystal clear in my thought. And nothing seemed to fix it. It wasn't lack of sleep. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And also my libido was changing, the lessened desire. And so it was just one thing started stacking on top of the other. And so that is how I ended up going and talking to a doctor and just laid out all the things. I even told her the garage door story. She said, honey, it's not the first time I've heard something like that. You are definitely in the right place. So she at least I felt heard. Like I felt heard. She validated my feelings. She shared other women's experiences and stories. And so then I just took a breath. I was like, okay, good. I'm not losing my mind, because it's a really interesting place to be. At times I will say I felt like I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like, what is going on? Why are all these things going on at the same time? It's very frustrating because I never felt like no matter what I did, I was still missing a step. You know what I mean? Like I was just one step behind. So there are many different solutions. Like I said, I chose the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, but there's also regular hormone replacement therapy. There are creams, there are patches, estrogen patches. There is oral medication, or oral hormones you can take. There are so many different modalities to look at ways to balance your hormones. There are other things outside of that if you choose not to consider hormones, there are other things, and you need to research those things. You need to ask your doctor and then do your own due diligence. Do your own due diligence. Like at the end of the day, we're responsible for ourselves, right? So we have to make the best decisions that we know how. And the way you do that is you got to educate yourself. So there are you're going to find all different opinions out there, and you're going to find a lot of different, I guess I'll say, options on how you could bring more balance into your hormones. And you just have to investigate those for yourself. And like I said, I have been thrilled with my choice with the BHRT. And I take an oral progesterone in the evenings, and it's a compounded capsule. And I sleep like a baby. I do not have any of the symptoms and challenges that I had before. And I've made an educated choice for myself that is the solution for me. And I feel amazing. And it's my choice, and that's what I've chosen to do. And I think once you start digging into it, I think that you will find other women, and they'll share their experience and maybe what options they decided to do. And my hope is that you'll find something that is the right fit for you. And you'll know what that is. You'll know what that is. You'll have a calmness and just kind of that feeling inside that this is the right thing for me to try. Sometimes I've talked to other women, it's a little bit of trial and error. They've tried a few different things, and it took them a little while to land on the thing that really worked for them. So I just feel like the importance of hormones in our body, I just don't feel like it had been talked about enough or explained in a way that it is critical to the vitality of our bodies and minds. And then when I learned about the health benefits, what were the benefits of me doing this? And the benefits were the bone health and keeping my bones strong. Osteoporosis runs in my family. And by doing this hormone replacement therapy, I am helping my bones and my skeletal system stay strong, because it's that lack of estrogen. And when we eventually have no estrogen, that's what our bones become very brittle. And, bone health is so important as we age, so important as we age. Which you think about you hear about in the elderly years, and when you fall or if you trip, but when you break a bone, if you have fragile bones, it makes aging well really much more challenging. So the benefits of bone health was a big one to me. And the benefits to cardiovascular and heart health, that was a big one for me. That I really liked what I was learning about that. And I really, I liked the information that I was getting back on that. So dive into looking into the hormone replacement therapy and seeing if that's an option that you would want to talk to your doctor about. And like I said, there's a lot of different modalities and different ways to do that. Patches, creams, tablets, pellets. I mean, there's so many different things. And so it's really just a matter of you digging into it and looking at all your options. So with that said, I think I just want to end this podcast on the note that I've shared with you the solution that I found that works for me. And my hope is that this just kind of is able to spur some dialogue with yourself, and that you will, if you recognize that you're going through this season, or maybe it's just going to better prepare you for when you do get to that season, that you won't waste as much time or lose the time thinking that, you're making this stuff up in your head. No, your body's really going through this. And there are solutions to make this a very vibrant, exciting time of your life where you feel amazing. And so I decided to gift myself that. That's how I looked at it. In July of 2021, I said, this is what I'm going to do for myself. And I have never been more thrilled about my decision. And, I feel great. I just feel great on every level, my mental, body, everything. And I'm sure that as I move forward that, maybe I have to adjust things or reevaluate every so often, but this truly has been the right thing for me at this season in my life. So I just want to close with giving you some encouragement that there are solutions. There are things that you can do. Perimenopause and menopause is not like this torturous thing that you must endure and go through. Yes, our bodies go through that, but there is so much available to us today that can keep us feeling and being our very best, because you have so much more life to live. You have so much more ahead of you. And battling each day, feeling miserable is no way to go through that season. So I just really want to close on with the message that this is a very normal process that your body is going to go through, and that there are options and solutions, some of which are going to be, you can do yourself, like I talked about: lifestyle, exercise, nutrition, things to calm your, lower your stress level, calm your nervous system. But then there's going to be other things that you seek medical, a doctor for, like your hormone replacement therapy, possibly talking about, the patches, the creams, so on and so forth. So you really have to do your own due diligence and figure out what the best solution for you is. But if you choose not to do that, you're closing off a whole world of knowledge and information and resources that are available to you. So I just really want you to know that information is there for you to tap into. And then if you choose to put it to work for yourself, then you're in the driver's seat on that, and you can make that choice. So I hope this has been insightful. I hope this has been helpful for you. I know that when I started on that path of trying to figure out what in the world was going on, that I really liked when I heard from real life women that shared their experience, and it was just kind of through their own language. And not that my experience hasn't been just like theirs, but I like to hear their story of what worked for them and then what they were going through. And it kind of just let me calm down on the subject a little bit and go like, okay, this is normal. I'm going to get this figured out. And I was not going to stop until I had it figured out. I was determined, because I just have so much more life to enjoy and live and do. And I didn't want that holding me back. So my hope for you is that you do the same, and you go find your answers and continue to educate yourself, and know that this season can absolutely be an amazing season of your life. All right, my friends, thank you so much for coming back this week and listening to this episode. If this has been helpful, or if you feel like this is something that someone needs to take a listen to, please forward this on to them, forward this podcast episode on to your friends or family. All right, take care. And until next week, go make it a great one. I'll talk to you soon.